Put your listening ears on and give our best welcome to Mr. Justin
Hey, 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 hey. What's up, everybody? So, I'm so happy to see you guys. This is a new school year. I'm just going to go right into it. Today, Mr. Justin is going to be talking to you guys about peer pressure. Yeah, but in order for me to talk to you about peer pressure, I need a volunteer. But I would like it to be a new student. And let's try a girl new student today. Come on down. Come on down. Give it a round of applause for a volunteer. All right. Hi.
Hello.
Your name?
Kasaya.
Hello, Kasaya. Everybody say hi, Kasaya. Okay, so Kasaya. So, next slide, please. We need some caution, though, because we're going to talk about peer pressure. I don't want you to feel the pressure when we talk about peer pressure, okay? I know it can be, I don't want you to sweat on everybody and just, just like, oh. Because sometimes peer pressure can feel like that. So what we're going to do today, next slide, we are going to define what peer pressure is. What is peer pressure, guys? Kasaya, would you be able to help us in defining what you think peer pressure is?
So peer pressure is kind of like that fear you get when you get on stage or like do something that's new to you, and it can be scary, and the pressure is like making you want to not do it, and then you just feel all weird and fuzzy and not in a good way.
Oh, you guys get that? Yeah. Good definition. That means that she has experienced peer pressure before. Next slide. So what we're going to do is, dictionary.com also has defined peer pressure. This is what it says. It says, the social pressure from one's peer group to take certain action, adopt certain values, or otherwise conform in order to be accepted. Okay? So that's what dictionary.com says. So it's almost like there's an outside voice giving outside pressure. Okay? That's what dictionary.com is saying. Then I came up with my definition too. It's good for us to define what peer pressure is for ourselves. So I said, the peer pressure is the uncertainty within a value system that allows the influence of family and friends, society, and the world to impact one's decision making. In other words, it's like there's an outside voice, but there's inside pressure. You see the difference? The world says that it's an outside voice giving outside pressure. I'm thinking it's an outside voice giving inside pressure. Because you feel it from within. You feel the, So, in order to give you guys the best picture of peer pressure, we have our volunteer. She has no idea what she's about to do, but she volunteered for this very reason, guys. Oh, yeah.
What?
So, this is what I would like for you to do. So, come with me. Stand right here. Stand on this line right here. Okay? And face this way. Okay? I want you to walk past this blue line, but here's the deal. This is going to be like a test of what peer pressure is like. What you have to do is you have to walk one foot in front of the other, like this, okay? Slowly, but the problem is going to be is that I am kind of like your peer. and the pressure you're going to feel is going to come from within. Are you guys ready to see peer pressure in action? So, I love this. So, whenever I say action, that's whenever you start slowly walking one step in front of the other, past that line. Okay? Next slide. And action. But peer pressure is also kind of like this. And it's kind of hard to make it, it's kind of really hard to make it to the end of the inning because you feel so much. And then you go, you got to turn around too. You have to go back that way. And you have to see, peer pressure is kind of like this. Like, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Are you going to go? Are you going to do it? Are you going to do what your friend is saying? Oh, what you going to do? How do you feel right now? Oh, you feel nervous? No, you don't feel nervous. See, that's what peer pressure is like. Oh, my goodness. Give it up for Messiah. What's wild about peer pressure, next slide. What's wild about peer pressure is that this is what happens. There's voices that are coming from all different angles telling you what to do, what you shouldn't do, how you should do it. You're just like, oh no, I'm hearing so much. Oh. But there's good news. Next slide. Good news is that there is this thing called L-I-N-E. It's a line. And this line is what allows us to remember that there's 4 things that peer pressure has the ability to affect. All right? Peer pressure has the ability to affect a lot of things, but there's 4 main things that I want you guys to remember today. Next slide. The first thing is the letter L, which represents language. Language is the voices that are coming in your head and your ears and everything that you're hearing. But then there's another type of language. You know what that is? It's the words that you're actually speaking out of your mouth. And the words that you're thinking in your head. It's all words. Words from without. Words from within. All these things are going all over the place. And what happens is with peer pressure, you feel it, and you're just like, oh no, people are telling me all these things to do, but I really don't want to do it. This is the best time for you to increase your language, but what you do is you make it a heavenly language. This is the best time to talk to God whenever you feel peer pressure. God knows what we're saying, but peer pressure allows us to hear languages, which is other people's voices, our voices, but you want to make sure that there is also a prayer voice going up to talk to God. Next slide. Number 2 is I for integrity. Peer pressure has the ability to affect our integrity. Integrity is kind of like doing what's right even when no one else is watching. But peer pressure causes us to do wrong when no one else is watching. So you see, peer pressure will have an effect on your integrity if you're not careful. We're going to talk a lot more about integrity as the year goes on as well. Next slide. N is nothing. Peer pressure has the ability to affect nothing. Because you know why? Because if your integrity is strong enough, which has everything to do with your values and your morals and your ethics, your integrity is too strong. Example. Hey Tyrone, you want to skip class and hang out on the playground all day long? No, Johnny, that is not a good idea. You're already failing all your classes. I don't want to fail my classes. You shouldn't want to fail your classes. Boom, boom. It's time to go to class. Let's go. That's what integrity will do. Integrity doesn't pressure? Because you have a value system from within that whenever you hear voices, it's like, psh, I'm not listening to you. What's pretty cool about nothing is that nothing means nothing. And that's all nothing means. Next slide. Everything. Mr. Justin, you just said that peer pressure has the ability to affect nothing. So how can it affect everything at the same time? Because peer pressure can affect everything. It can affect everything. It can affect the clothes you wear, the shoes you put on today, the style of your hair, the way you walk, the way you look. It can affect the video games you play. It can affect the sports you participate in. And it doesn't stop there. Even whenever you become an adult, it gets even worse. Peer pressure can affect the college you attend, and the jobs you apply for, and the relationship you pursue, and the house you buy, and the cars you drive, and how many kids you want, and how you're supposed to be a good parent, and the amount of money you're supposed to make. I can't take peer pressure as an adult. I can't come down. But at the same time, guess what? I don't want to be pressured by peer pressure. Do you? No. So what we got to do is we got to have a good value system that's strong. Next slide. The Bible is full of stories about peer pressure. The best story in the whole Bible, I believe, is at the very beginning of the Bible, in Genesis chapter 3. This is the story of Adam and Eve, and it speaks about Eve being tempted or deceived or being peer pressured into eating the fruit off the tree that God said not to eat from. Let's actually read that story. Next slide. Now the serpent was more crafty than all the other wild animals the Lord had made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman said to the serpent, "Hey, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat from the fruit from the tree that's in the middle of the garden. And you must not touch it, or you will die." The serpent said, "You will not surely die. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Then the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and also desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it. And she also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it too. Oh, poor Adam and Eve. God said, "Don't eat from the tree. Don't do it." But she, Eve specifically, felt the peer pressure, the voice from outside. And she felt the pressure from within and still decided to make a decision that wasn't a good decision. Adam and Eve had peer pressure affect everything, guys. It affected everything. Next slide. If Adam and Eve were here today, this is what they would tell us. Giving into peer pressure, Victory World School, caused us to lose everything. Our bad decisions has even affected you. Please don't give in to peer pressure. Please learn from our mistakes. Yep, that's Adam and Eve. Next slide. So I want to encourage you guys that whenever it comes to peer pressure, there's going to be times where you're going to feel as though you're being bullied, because sometimes that's what peer pressure feels like too. Sometimes it feels like temptation, where you kind of want to do it, but you know it's not good to do. You know it's not good for you. You know, maybe your mom and dad said no. Maybe your teacher said no. But the peer pressure, the voices from outside make you feel the pressure from within. Or maybe, next slide, maybe it's a group of girls who kind of make fun of you and they talk behind your back if you don't do something, or if you don't dress a certain kind of way, or if you aren't cool like them. Listen up. But this is what peer pressure is, guys. It's outside. Peer pressure is outside. You guys are special because you're hearing a message that doesn't teach this out in the world. Out in the world, they say peer pressure is outside and it stays outside. But I'm letting you know that if you have a strong inside, that you too can avoid falling into the trap of peer pressure. Just like the little boy who didn't want to stay out on the playground all day long and skip his classes. He knew what was right. And he decided to do what was right. Next slide. What's pretty cool is that the word discipline has the word line in it. And many times whenever we can learn discipline and we have Jesus as our number one, we become kind of like a disciple. Oh. And when we become disciples, that means we can teach other people what we know. So now we are discipling others. And we have friends like this. And we can all walk a straight line just like this. But the most important person that we need in our life, it all starts with, next slide. Everybody say Jesus! Today, we would not want to do messages like this without you, Jesus. Your Holy Spirit is amazing, and I just ask that you can impart something fresh within these kids at a young and tender age, whether they're in K4 all the way up through middle school. Impart it into the teachers as well and the staff. The word discipline is an amazing attribute to have, that even as adults, we can avoid falling into the traps of peer pressure, and we can walk that straight and narrow line. Jesus, we love you, we thank you, and everybody say,